Welcome back to Movies That Matter, where entertainment is subjective, and that's not a bad thing. I'm Chris Flaherty, and thank you for joining us from the podcast studio at Burlington Cable Access Television. May 12, 2025 marked the 80th anniversary of the Railway series, the book series published by the Reverend Wilbur Awdry. 80 years ago, the world was first introduced to the world of Thomas the Tank Engine and his friends. And while Thomas is not a property that is known primarily for its films, it is something that has shaped my childhood, and my love for it has never really gone away. And today I would like to welcome my guest, Brannon Carty, filmmaker and director of An Unlikely Fandom, The Impact of Thomas the Tank Engine. Brannon, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Always happy to talk Thomas.
Awesome, great. I don't have a lot of people to talk Thomas with, so I really appreciate it. All right, Brannon, so normally I start out by saying, like, in your own words, can you tell me what the movie's about? We're not talking about a movie today, so in your own words, can you tell me what Thomas the Tank Engine is?
Yeah, so Thomas, it's this TV show, it's a series of books, it's spanned generations. It is this property that has comforted so many kids, adults, and he's the most reliable blue train there is. And he's been my friend for so long, and it's just, he has taken up every corner of my life now, in a good way.
Awesome. It's nice to have some reliable public transportation in our lives. So do you remember your first exposure to Thomas? Was it the books? Was it the television show?
Yeah, so we had the wooden railway toys when I was growing up, but it was for my older brother. It wasn't for me. He's 2 years older than me, so I was still like an infant crawling on the floor. But I saw him playing with toy trains, and to me, I was like, oh, well, I want to do that too.
Nice.
So there's video footage of me and my brother both like playing with the wooden trains. And we got the VHS tapes. We watched it on TV, and then he grew out of it. It stuck with me.
Awesome. Was Wooden Railway like your toy line of choice for the merch?
Oh yeah, it was Wooden Railway and the Tomy trains in my household.
I was a big Wooden Railway myself. A lot of Ertl too. Had a lot of Ertl. In fact, I got my Ertl Thomas with me today.
Nice.
So what really made it stick out with you, even after all these years?
You know, with most things in life that you sort of become interested in, sometimes you can't explain it. Some things are situational. Some things are, you know, it just happens. And I think with Thomas, that's what it was. It just, there was a reason it never left. I'm sure there is some reason deep down, but it just always made me feel comforted, especially, you know, today when the world is crazy.
Right.
Terrible things are happening. It is nice to come home, put on Thomas, and just feel, it's kind of like when you're in your zen, almost.
That's really nice. Did your appreciation for the series change at all as you grew up?
Oh, absolutely. You know, when you watch it as a kid, you're wanting to see the new Thomas. Well, like, what's the next new episode that's coming out? Who are the new characters?
Sure.
Whereas, as an adult, I'm mainly focused on like those first 5 series. I know some people appreciate the CGI era, and when I was a teenager, I did like the CGI stuff, but now it doesn't resonate with me. I'm more just, I want to watch the original first 5 series, and like to me, it's just become like I've grown to love them more as I grow up.
Yeah, no, I definitely hone in on series 1 through 5. I like season 6 and 7 too, not as much, but yeah. So what are some of your favorite episodes of the series?
Ooh, I have 2 that are like always stick out in my mind. Cranky Bugs, because series 5 is fantastic, and that's like the best way to start it off. Cranky's also a great character. Trouble with Mud is great. I didn't grow up much with series 3 for some reason. We didn't have those tapes in my house, but I think this one was on 10 Years of Thomas, and because I hadn't grown up with series 3, like that one stood out to me. Like, whoa, like this is such a weird vibe. But it's great because all the characters are really themselves in that episode. Gordon is pompous, wants to be clean. James is also wanting to be clean, and then he gets sprayed by Gordon with mud. James can't get up the hill. And it's the visuals of like fall on Sodor are just so nice.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying that one. That's such a deep cut. I don't see a lot of people acknowledging that one.
Yeah.
And the model work of the early seasons just can't be beat.
Oh, God, no.
And I feel like season 3, they really stepped up their game.
Oh, yeah, because it's also like bright and colorful relative to series 1 and 2. It's like they boosted the saturation 110% higher, but it still looks great.
Any favorite characters?
Oh yeah, I'm very partial to James. James is one of my favorite characters because every toy of James always looks good. I don't know what it is. And outside of James, Diesel 10 from Magic Rarities, like that is my guy. He is my favorite character. If there is one model from the show that I could ever own, it would be Diesel 10.
Did you try to win any of those props in the auction I saw online?
Yeah, I was going to bid on one of the lots with the Diesel 10 faces, but the price just got too high. I'm like, it's not worth it.
That's too bad. I'm glad you brought up Diesel 10 because we'll talk about his appearances later. Did Thomas ever inspire like a real world fascination with like trains for you?
Not really. I'm one of those few fans where I can appreciate trains. And like I'm going to be in the UK next week and I'm going to be seeing all these real railways, you know. And I know that I will love it and I will appreciate it, but it's not something that I couldn't sit there and tell you the basis of every engine.
Sure, yeah.
If I saw it in real life, I could be like, oh, that's Thomas, sure. But I don't know wheel configurations. I don't know speeds, anything.
No, yeah, okay, me neither. The only thing I know is like, oh, that's the Tally-Clin Railway. That's like that's where it stops for me.
Yeah.
So how do you think Thomas influenced your taste in movies and series?
That's a great question. I'm not entirely sure. It on one hand, it kind of kept me away from other like movies and TV shows because I'm like, oh, Thomas is just so good. And one of the things I've had to do, especially as an adult, is kind of branch away from that and be like, all right, well, you've seen the show to death. You need to go out and try something new. But it's made me appreciate if we focused in on kids media for a second on that angle.
Yeah,
I think it has made me understand what is the issue with like modern children's entertainment being very flashy. And you know the whole thing about like iPad Kid, like Thomas would not work in today's world, the original series. It's too slow, but not slow in a bad way. It's very gentle, and shows for kids today feel way more intense and flashy than they need to be. And I think we're going to see the results of that in the next 10 years, and I don't know if it's going to be good or bad.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because it brought what's the name of the new incarnation that kind of crashed and burned?
All Engines Go.
Yeah, that was very not what Thomas is.
Oh no!
And I saw one picture where like they're using their wheels as like hands and legs. I'm like, oh my god. That's kind of reflective on what, as you said, what children's media has become today. So how do you think Thomas influenced your career path in filmmaking in any way?
It definitely fueled my editing career. One of the first things I did on a computer, I had all these like Thomas stills offline, and I had Windows Movie Maker, and I would just cut them to music.
Awesome.
To create like a weird story, because I couldn't record my voice, so I would just use music to tell some type of story. And I mean, I've been editing Thomas for the last 15 years of my life, be it, you know, it would be cool to compile these episodes together. Like it was its own like release on VHS or something. Or, you know, trying out like my color grading. How do I make Thomas look red? Or, you know, how do I fix whatever? On that aspect, my editing chops have gotten a lot better. Filmmaking wise, I have tried filming like model trains, miniatures. And I've started to figure out how they did it. So it's given me an insight into the camera work. And, you know, because what they were doing, they were filming these small engines with wide angle lenses. So it made them look huge. And so whenever I'm filming something and I want to achieve that same effect, it's like, well, Thomas did it this way. I'll do it that way. So there's even if I'm not filming trains, the principles still kind of wear off on you.
And that sort of leads to my next question. What can the show teach us, or what did it teach you about filmmaking?
You know, it taught me you didn't have to make something to be like 15, 20 minutes, an hour and a half to tell a good story. You know, you can tell a good story in 4 minutes, 30 seconds if you really need to. And it doesn't... The nice thing about those original stories is that they just start like in the middle of a train's day. It's never like the early morning. Like it really teaches you how to write a story, and that you can just jump into the world as long as you give it a nice little setup. And that's what Series 5 does a lot, especially. It'll just be like, Thomas was sitting on a siding upset. That's how it'll start. You don't need to start with Thomas woke up beginning his day doing XYZ. Whereas as a student filmmaker, you always hear about the shot of like the alarm clock and the kid getting out of bed or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm guilty of that. And because of Thomas, I've stopped doing that.
Just jumping right into it. Awesome. I didn't even ask you your connection to the original books. Did you read the books growing up?
I didn't have them. Later on, I ended up getting the complete set, and I have read them. It's not my thing. I appreciate it for what it is, because it is the reason that I am here, more or less. I think I also have trouble reading because of ADHD, so that kind of already makes it hard. But I can look at them and very much appreciate, wow, the source material was absolutely like the sole reason this thing took off.
Yeah, and there was a lot of world building, and kind of like those first 5 seasons, like it was maturing with its audience.
Oh yeah,
which I think is why like older fans, like it stuck with them, because it was growing up with them alongside. I would be remiss if we didn't touch on the 2000 film Thomas and the Magic Railroad. What are your thoughts on that? That feature film is what I'll say.
Oh, I love it. I love it so much. It is one of my favorite movies. I understand objectively it's not great. I understand its shortcomings, and I have gripes with the film. But being a kid watching this movie come out and be promoted, like Thomas was everywhere. You couldn't escape it. So it takes me back to that time when Thomas was at its peak, in my opinion. And every time I watch it, knowing all the little secrets about the film now and all the things that were cut and how it changed and how it, kind of got messy, I can still appreciate it, because what they did was very much against the norm with that film. If it were made now, it would be Thomas comes to the real world, teams up with a human sidekick. And they kind of have that, but it's not like they're in New York City. Thomas is in the real world for 2 seconds. But otherwise, it's a story about the engines dealing with their own conflicts. Unfortunately, it's overshadowed by the human elements, which, yeah.
You just triggered my my disdain for all these Smurfs movies.
Exactly. The first thing I thought of was like the Smurfs, and kind of the first Sonic movie too, where he comes into the real world, and I'm like,
yeah. Like that seems to be like the cliche, like the animated character comes to the real world and like they team up with, so and so celebrity. Yeah, I do think the film definitely has merits. Like I think the model work is on point. I think the music is really great. And as you touched upon, like I think the behind the scenes is really fascinating too.
And what's also really nice is that it's not a toddler film. Like it is very much a family movie, which is nice, because I don't think you would see a kid's film dealing with like, oh, this elderly man is depressed because his wife died, and this train is like an embodiment of his failures as a human being. Maybe it does deal with some deep stuff. It doesn't do it great, but it at least tried. Yeah,
it doesn't talk down to the audience at all, which is very nice and what you want from a family movie like that. Do you remember the first time you saw it in theaters?
Oh, yeah. I remember going to the theater, and there was a Thomas wooden railway train set out in the lobby.
Oh, my God.
The kids were playing with.
That's incredible.
And there was like a giant standee of the poster. Like, it was massive. But I was also like probably 2 feet tall, so it looked massive to me. And the only thing I can remember is the scene where Diesel 10 comes in through the station, and he's singing like Old McDiesel Had a Plan.
Yeah.
I was scared. I thought he was the scariest thing of all time, but I loved it.
Awesome. We'll talk about physical media in a little bit, but do you remember like when you first saw the trailer on the VHS tapes?
See, my copy of Spills and Chills doesn't have the trailer, and
really,
we got our tapes first day every time they came out. There is no reason why mine shouldn't have it, but it doesn't.
I'm so I never sorry. Saw that one. Man, they should have put that like on the DVD re-release as a bonus feature.
Exactly.
Oh, that's so bad. So you mentioned in your notes about like how it sort of destroyed Thomas's legacy. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, so it really derailed everything, and it's the reason that things are the way they are. And I'm not saying that every new Thomas thing that's come out is bad. I don't. I think it is. I think everyone likes some aspect of it, or there's an aspect of it for everyone. But in the way that it got rid of Brit, it got rid of that core team. It really disconnected everybody.
Yeah.
Simply because, it was a box office bomb, and people were expecting a lot out of that movie. And Brit was the first person whose head had to fall because she took so many risks. And I feel like if the movie had done better, Britt would have been with Thomas for way longer. And I don't even know if you and I would be here right now. Like, things could have changed so much if she had stayed with the show. But there is credit to be given to Hit Entertainment, to Mattel, for keeping it going. I do wish Britt had been on it for longer, because I think Series 6 would have been a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah, for those that don't know, Britt Allcroft is the original show creator who basically gave us Thomas on television. And like you said, like, we probably wouldn't be here talking right now if it wasn't for her. Do you think we would ever get another Thomas film? I know Mattel has got like 50 things in the pipeline because of Barbie, but...
I would love to see it happen, but I think because the first movie was a box office bomb, there is a lot of trepidation with bringing Thomas back to the big screen. They've done these like 60-minute specials, and usually those do all right. But I don't know if... I know they've announced this Mark Forster movie, but I think it's been 5 years now, and maybe they were waiting to see what Barbie did, or maybe now. I don't know. I think with All Engines Go being the way that it is, like, the Thomas brand is in a weird identity crisis, and I don't think this film could coexist with that.
Yeah, I don't want to see an All Engines Go movie, and like you said, like, it would be like that version of Thomas coming to the real world. Yeah, which is essentially what Barbie kind of did, but Barbie, it worked.
Right, and it would be great if they approached Thomas like they did with Barbie. If they gave it some like, if it was actually kind of funny and it was tongue-in-cheek, more sort of adult humor, I think it could work. Yeah,
I know they tried to do something more adult with the Shane Acker film that never got off the ground. Yeah, have you heard about like what that... I know like plot details were like kind of like scarce for a while, and then they were revealed recently, and it was like, that was something.
Yeah, it's kind of like they were like, all right, well, Transformers is really popular, Thomas is really popular, how do we mesh both of these worlds together? And I talk about dodging a bullet.
Because it was like very World War II focused, and like the steam engines versus the diesels was like a Axis and Allies allegory. I was like, whoa.
And unfortunately, in this, I do worry about this with the new film if it comes out. These people had no idea about like the world of Thomas, and you don't have to like be a super fan to get it. You just have to understand these are trains that can't drive themselves necessarily, but they talk.
Yeah,
you can still do a lot with that, but you have to understand the limitations of these trains.
Right, and like talking vehicles and modes of transportation were not something new in 1945 or even in 1980, but just the way Thomas did it was so much different.
Right,
because it acknowledged the fact, like, no, these are machines, like, they need people to help them work, and like it was a very, very much immersed in the real world. What do you think, or in your mind, as a filmmaker, what would a perfect Thomas film look like to you?
I think it would be, you need a 70-30 balance. 70% trains, 30% humans. Whereas, Magic Road is the inverse of that, the exact opposite. I think you could really do sort of a Christopher Robin style approach with the film, where you kind of have the Audrey family and Thomas existing in the real world together, that have them actually exist together and have Sodor be a real thing, and they're just writing what they see there, and it's like this foreign land. I think something like that, and I think a father-son story is what you need this time, because it is very much tied to the original father and son,
right,
who brought these stories to life.
Yeah, this is how it all started. Like, it was the Reverend writing stories for his son when he was homesick. Yeah, that's great. All right, let's kickstart that. All right, so let's talk about An Unlikely Fandom, which I think is a really great project, and I'm glad I could help you highlight it. How did you first discover this lasting impact that Thomas had on older fans like you and me?
I had unrestricted internet access as a kid. It was a horrible idea. And so I just started finding like these websites that like had Thomas fans like all together on them. I think one was called TV.com. It was a forum way back when. It doesn't exist now. And that's how I made like a bunch of my initial friends.
Wow.
Then we moved to YouTube when that, like, I think it was 2006. So YouTube had only been out for maybe 2 years at that point. So all the Thomas fans came there. And then it just kind of snowballed. Now we're on Twitter. And, you know, it's an everyday cycle. And that's, you know, I've been in this world for 20 years now. And I just, every day, it's just kind of like, wow. You kind of have to pinch yourself thinking like, oh, I'm not alone. Other people feel this exact same way. And it's great.
What made you want to decide to turn a spotlight on this fandom with your doc?
Yeah, I'd always wanted to do a Thomas documentary. That's like a behind the scenes one. That was the real thing I was interested in. But I realized that wasn't going to happen immediately for like a first time filmmaker. That's a little above my pay grade. And then I realized, you know, okay, well, there's this Brony doc, which I ended up watching, and I said, that would be really neat, but with our people, albeit done a little bit differently. And so I kind of I did some brainstorming one night, and I was already taking this class in college, my final semester, where I needed to make a documentary. And I was like, wait a minute. There we go, right there.
That's awesome. Can you tell me about some of the fans and creators you met while filming this and what you learned from them?
Oh, yeah. I met this guy, or I was friends with him already, but not super close. His name's Matt Mashad. He's sort of the main character of the film.
Okay.
Although it wasn't always going to be that way. He was one of the first interviews we did. We filmed him 3 times. The first time it was at a fan meetup, and he looked all hot and sweaty, and it's like, well, this isn't exactly flattering. We were in a building without any AC. It was horrible. So then we went back and reshot him a second time and at his home. And that's the one you see in the film. And he was just so well spoken about the whole thing. And he talked about how Thomas is cathartic for him. And that was a very common thing amongst all the people that I met, is that it was cathartic. You know, some of them were on the spectrum, and so Thomas naturally appealed to them, and that kept their interest going. Some people were trained people. But for the people that were maybe, I found this a lot more common amongst the filmmakers in the fandom, me and Matt and a few other people, that it was just cathartic for us. We just liked the visuals so much, and it made us feel good inside. And I'm trying to think who else I met. I mean, I met so many people. Even there was a guy that dressed up as Mr. Conductor from Magic Railroad. His name's Rob.
Oh, awesome.
He was a very cool guy. So throughout the entire film, he's in his conductor garb. And then there's a guy who's dressed up as Sir Topham Hatt right beside him.
That's great.
And, you know, it's just so many people that I had known online, but I hadn't really met in person. And I got to know them on a deeper level through doing this. And I just got to learn that, like, everyone's love for this show is very different. And that's what's so incredible.
Were these all people you met online previously? How did you go about finding interviews?
Yeah, so we all sort of followed each other on Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. And so I slowly reached out to people privately, and I said, hey, here's what I'm doing. I think you would be a great sort of person to kind of talk about this angle of it. I want you to talk about filmmaking. I want you to talk about music. I want you to talk about trains, the real-life train aspect. And there were some people that, like, friends referred to me. Like, there's one guy in the film, his name is Brandon Stone, has a beautiful model layout in his basement. Very, very well-spoken individual. I didn't know him prior to this film at all. And really, there was no way we would have ever crossed paths. But one of the guys I interviewed said, hey, why don't you go check that guy out? And got him in the film. He's in a big chunk of the movie, and a lot of that happened. You know, you just start, the people that you do interview, they realize what you're trying to do, and they say, well, I know this guy who could talk about this, and it ultimately became like this weird collaborative effort.
Awesome. That's great. And you didn't just get to speak to fans, you got to speak to people that helped make the original show, like composer Mike O'Donnell and Shining Time Station producer Rick Sigelkow. What was that like?
Oh, that was great because that's something we knew people wanted to see, like the show people in there, and it would be so nice to have them on camera saying yes, keep going. That's great. Give the ultimate blessing, if you will.
Yeah.
It was so nice to meet them. Rick was great. We spent a whole afternoon at his house and had a great time, and I still keep in touch with him.
Great.
And it's Mike also keep in touch with. I wasn't in the UK when it was filmed, but I gave the list of questions. I hired a guy to go film him.
Oh, nice.
And it was just it's so great to have those guys in there because it gives a lot more credibility to the whole thing. Because people will see, oh, well, damn, people tied to the show also think this is neat, and they're supportive of it. Like that, to me, if I were an outsider and I saw that, I'd be like, oh, wow, this is actually pretty legitimate, isn't it?
Yeah. And Mike is still very active online. I know he releases CDs of like recreations of the themes and stuff.
Yeah, no, he's very engaged, and it's great for them too because I think anyone, if you worked on something 30 years ago and if it were still relevant, like that's great, that's fantastic. If I'm still talking about this doc in 30 years, I've succeeded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you want your work to have a lasting impact, so it must be a great feeling for them. Did you learn anything new about the show when you were talking to them?
I learned a little bit about sort of like the early days, especially with Mike O'Donnell and how like they only thought it was going to be one series. So it's not like they were thinking, towards the future on, well, maybe in the second season we can do this. Mm-hmm. And something you said earlier, like they were maturing as every season came along, and also as the kids were maturing with the show. Mm-hmm. So both parties were growing up. Like everyone was learning how to do things, and it was really a ragtag team of people for that first series, and it is a miracle that everyone succeeded as well as they did. I mean, I don't think they themselves were sure it would work, but it did.
I'm glad you brought up that they were maturing too, because like if you go from season 1 to season 2, it's a lot darker.
Yeah, and it's also like everything. The set design is totally different too, so it automatically feels like its own world relative to 1. And you're right, like the story elements become way more complex. It's not about Thomas and Eddie and Clarabelle and Terrence arguing all day. It's about, oh, here's a diesel coming in, and he's going to try and kick this other engine out of there that he doesn't like. Mm-hmm. And it's just like, oh my god, like every season just built off of one another, and they always felt so different.
Yeah, like that's another thing that I love, that every classic season felt different than the other. And like even like the older episodes, or like season 5 or like season 3, you never knew what you were going to get. And
that's something that I think, and I do enjoy the CGI series to an extent. I think that is what has been lost in the new Thomas, is that animation is so good that it all does kind of blend together at this point. So there is no... granted, they were just shooting on 35 millimeter. Not much changed in between seasons, but they made new sets. They repainted the engines every time.
Yeah.
So there was always that kind of look, whereas a 3D model just stays the same.
Yeah, I've seen like some CGI stuff, and I see the transgression, and like the only things that really change is like the lighting changes a little bit, and they just add like a different detail to Thomas. Like you'll see like a different rivet on him between seasons, and that's like, oh, that's season 17, not 18. Whereas like 1 through 5 everything is visually distinct.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and it's an interesting look at filmmaking to see like how their craft evolved. And you didn't just get to speak to Mike and Rick; you also got to meet Britt Allcroft. What was your time like with her?
That is something that I pinch myself every day being able to say that like I got to be friends with her, and she would literally just call me up on the phone sometimes.
Oh, that's awesome.
And just check in, and I'm sitting here like, what? I don't understand, why me? It was really nice though. From day one I knew I wanted to get her in the film, but I also knew it was a pipe dream because she became very private in her later years, and rightfully so. So it took a lot of convincing. We talked for maybe, I think, 2 straight years trying to get her in this film.
Wow.
And it took a lot of convincing, but once, I think after a certain point, she learned to trust that, like, I'm doing this out of passion, not for money or anything like that, because she saw a cut of the film before she was in it, and she liked it. And spending time with her, especially in New York when we had our premiere, was just insane, because I'm sitting here like, hey, Britt, we're going to go out to dinner. Do you want to come? We want to take you out somewhere.
That's awesome.
And having dinner with the woman who brought the show to life, it's like, oh my God, it's crazy. And being able to introduce her to all the fans at the premiere, it's just like,
I think I remember seeing a clip on Twitter, or like just the thunderous applause when she walked out. Yeah,
and me and Rick looked at each other, and my heart was beating, because I didn't know how people were going to react. I'm sure Rick was nervous, but we both knew that, like, for Britt, this would mean everything. So we wanted to make it as big as possible, and so that was the big secret until the night of.
That's awesome. And she did get to see the final cut of the film?
Yeah, she sat and watched the film. I was sitting, I think, like 2 seats down from her, and I kept looking at her face every time, like something cute would pop up, like a kid talking about his childhood. She smiled so much throughout that film, and it was great.
Wow, that's an incredible gift, not just for her, but for you to give that to her, and for you to experience that. And what do you hope people take away from watching this film?
If you're a Thomas fan, I want you to understand that, like, you're not alone ever. This little fandom that we're in can do a lot. We have a lot of power, and it really at its core is a great group of people, and it's what you make it. To people that aren't in the fandom, I want to tell them that, or I hope that they understand that it's okay to indulge in childish things sometimes, especially when you're going to work paying bills. Why not enjoy things? As long as you're not hurting anybody and you're living a healthy average life, like, who cares? Everyone's got that one thing that they hold on to, and I think some of us don't want to admit it, but you should indulge.
What did you take away from making this film?
I took away that producing, directing, and editing took a permanent toll on my body, and I have to be careful. I can't move the way that I used to when I was 22, 23 now. My body I have to be careful, but the biggest takeaway is honestly that even if you aren't sure if your work is going to move people, it's still worth a risk. I mean, this whole thing could have ended horribly. It could have been an embarrassment. There's a lot of things that could have gone wrong, but because of my intent, and because I went out to do something genuine, I think people saw that and they went along with it, and it ultimately turned into this film that has made a lot of people cry, even like non-Thomas people.
Wow, I'm getting kind of like moist under the eyes talking about it right now. I imagine it was kind of probably cathartic a little bit for you to, like, hey world, here's a fandom that it might be unlikely to someone else, but this is something that's really important to me, and it's important to a lot of people.
And it's really nice, because there were people that came up to me after the screening that are like, I wish I'd had this film when I was much younger to show my parents. Or, hey, I'm glad my parents were with me when I saw this, because now they understand. I had parents come up to me being like, I finally get what my kid is doing.
Wow.
That made me cry, because I'm sitting there like, God, my parents don't get it. I'm glad you do. That's great.
Yeah. No disrespect to my parents. I love them, but they definitely didn't get it either.
Yeah. It's hard. I get it. It's hard.
It's unique. So you've spoken and you've made friends with a lot of Thomas creators. There are plenty on YouTube. Who are some that you think people should check out? Either definitely, like diehard Thomas fans or just like newcomers.
Definitely a guy named Matt Machad, Enterprising Engines 93. Great little fan series he has. He I think he pioneered sort of filming wooden railway trains outside and making it all look to scale.
I love his work.
Yeah, he's just such a great human being. Mr. Conductor fan who made the Magic Road parody.
Oh yeah,
that has to plug him. Yeah, like that. We were making our films like side by side together, so we were venting to each other on how hard it is to do this, and his thing turned out to be 3 hours long, and that's a hell of a feat. There are just so many people. I mean, there's a guy named Isaiah who does like music from the show, and it's just so incredible. He can match it to a T. There's just so many to name. It's hard to like single out.
I'd throw Unlucky Tug in there too. I love his video essays.
Oh yeah. I cannot. We got to mention him.
Yeah. So why do you think Thomas has this stigma to it, like opposed to other properties like Disney or Pokemon? I think maybe the Muppets a little bit. Like they're mainly targeted to younger audiences, but like I would say the majority of fans are much older.
I think what happened here is Thomas is grouped in with the PBS stuff. And that inherently, I guess for whatever reason, just feels more toddlery. Like it's, as far as most people know, like it's just a competitor to Sesame Street, maybe in America, without understanding. Like no. This, it was on PBS. It didn't really belong there though. It needed to be. Could have been on Cartoon Network if it really wanted to. Could have been on Nick. You know it. It's because of that people view it as this kid, like a toddler show. But it's so weird when you go out and you see like the Disney adults and they're wearing a shirt with Mickey Mouse on it, or I mean, I've even seen shirts that have like the Sesame Street characters, and I'm sitting here like, why not us? I think it also comes down to how the owners manage the brand.
Yes.
If they tackled this as this is a legacy brand now, let's stop focusing on new Thomas. Let's hold off on that. Let's establish that the old stuff does exist and it's good and it's great and market that. I think it could come into that sort of people would look at it differently. And I mean, hell, Hot Topic had a Thomas shirt like 5 years ago. You know, but then they stopped. I don't know what happened. It's like all we need is one person to kind of start getting that movement going, and then the rest will follow.
Yeah, man, I do see some like polos with him on it like lately, and I wonder like, man, could I rock that? I don't know.
That is the nice thing, is that I do think they're finally getting the message here, because like I've got a Thomas adult sweater and a Thomas adult shirt in my closet, and I'm sitting here like, why didn't I have this 5 years ago? You know,
right? Yeah, and like you said, like everybody wears Disney shirts out, no problem. I saw a gentleman wearing a Muffin from Bluey shirt out and about. And I'm like, you know what?
Oh, yeah.
You've inspired me. I want a Muffin shirt.
Well, you know, it's weird because like I've got a Bluey sweater that I wear out all the time. I don't wear my Thomas sweater out though. I don't know why, because it's like Bluey is technically for younger kids,
right?
But unfortunately, it's more socially acceptable. But I think with this film and with the way that Mattel's going, I think it'll change. I
hope so. And we're talking about merch, so let's talk about physical media. I still have a lot of my old VHS tapes. I see you have a lot of your old VHS tapes. I'm really jealous because yours look like they're in much better condition than mine. But unfortunately, it's a media that's dying out. And then like the US DVD releases, I feel like they're all just like scans of old VHS tapes. There's no really like high quality season sets like there are in the UK. And in this day and age, you might end up paying big bucks for like through a reseller. As a filmmaker, what are your thoughts on this current industry epidemic where media is often held behind paywalls of streaming services?
Yeah, see, it's great because as a filmmaker already, you kind of are on the train of physical media is better. Streaming, while convenient, we need to be careful with it. We don't want to replace physical media. So I was already in the mindset of like, oh, if I like a film, if I go out and I saw Sinners, I want a 4K copy of it, just by default, you know?
Yeah.
Or I want like a Criterion, whatever. With Thomas, it's the same thing, but I'd argue more intense for me because I'm sitting here. I've got every UK DVD back there because I realize that's the only way to see all of it in consistent quality. I've got a $300 multi-region 4K player out there because of the Thomas stuff. I wouldn't have to do that if the show was more widely available here, and it is on streaming, but
you don't
quality,
own it.
Yeah. I want to own it, and I also want like that. I want the quality that comes with physical media. I want the nice sounding audio. I want the good quality video. Unfortunately, Thomas continues to get the short end of the stick with that in the U.S. and always has. I mean, our DVDs were in 4:3 until 2016.
Wow,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah, was it the first 5 were shot in 4:3 though, weren't they?
Yep, and then even 6 and 7 over here, like it's still 4:3. There's never been a commercial widescreen release, and I'm sitting here like, please, for the love of God, since it's the 80th, go rescan the film. Give us H.G. Thomas now.
Yeah. Like, we haven't even touched on the fact that the pilot resurfaced this year.
Oh, my God.
That is a beautiful piece of filmmaking, I find.
And it's so weird because it feels so foreign, but it's still so close to the final thing. Like, Thomas looks almost identical, give or take the face and some of the minor details. Gordon looks wildly different. Ugly-looking creature.
He kind of looks like a Gumby character.
He does.
Yeah.
He looks so scary and weird. Mm-hmm. But it is so close. And also, seeing classic Thomas in 4K is mind-blowing. I didn't realize when you see it on the DVD, the depth of field is compressed because of its SD, and sort of the details get a little muddied and whatever. But seeing that, it's like, oh my God, this looks like an actual movie that I'm watching.
Yeah. There are some things about the pilot that I love from more than the original, or not the original, but the episode that they shot of that story later. I was like, why did you redo that?
Yeah, like the mind collapsing, the effect they did for that, incredible.
Yeah, and just some of the close-ups and stuff, like, wow, like, again, like, it's filmmaking 101. Tangent, but I could talk about Sinners for a long time too, but that's a different episode. And I might need you to send me a link for your region-free player, because I have the season sets from the UK, but I have no way to play them.
Oh, I got you. I can hook you up.
Yeah. So do you have a favorite Thomas VHS from growing up?
Yeah, Cranky Bugs with that blue cover was my entire childhood. Every time I put that release on, I feel like I'm 5 years old again, right in front of our big CRT.
Man, I banked on the wrong ones. I could have brought my whole collection with me today, but I don't know, for some reason I thought these might.
Ooh, nice. Buzz is wonderful. I love that one.
Yeah. But yeah, I remember when Cranky Bugs came out, like, we found it at Toys R Us, and at that time it was kind of like, oh my God, new Thomas episodes. Because it had been a few years since season 4.
Yeah.
And then it was nuts because, like, these are stories nobody had seen or heard before because it was not based on the books.
Yeah, and you get a whole new narrator too out of nowhere. That it's not like announced online anywhere. It's just like you're a kid and you're like, oh, he sounds different now.
Yeah, and it's weird to say now that Alec Baldwin was affiliated with Thomas, but he was a really good narrator, I thought.
I must say that I met him in person a few months ago.
Did you?
I interviewed him for we're doing a tribute to Britt Allcroft.
Okay.
So how Alec and I got connected is already a weird story, but I was sitting there interviewing him in person in the studio, and I said, as we wrapped, I said, hey, I want to let you know, you are my favorite Thomas narrator of all time, and you were the voice of my childhood. And he sat there and he's like, nah, no way.
I think he's my favorite too. It's either him or George Carlin.
Yeah, those two, it's very hard to like pick one of those.
Because like Carlin had so many great voices, Baldwin had so many great voices. It's tough to pick. But it's never Brandon for me. It's never Michael Brandon. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no comment on that one.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. So what do you think allows audiences to connect with Thomas and allow it to stand the test of time?
I think it is the simplicity of the whole thing. It's just, it's just trains going about their day with very, very minor conflicts. Nothing ever explodes unless it's season 5. But like you always know that everyone's going to be okay at the end. Henry gets out of the tunnel, Thomas gets pulled out of the mine, what have you. And the characters are so real, and it's very like people that I've met in real life that I've like argued with. Like I'm always like, oh, this happened in like season 3, and it's kind of like, well, I know from that episode. Here's how I should probably handle this, maybe. And it's also just like I think everybody can appreciate a train, much like everyone can appreciate a nice car. If I saw a very nice like sports car, I'd be like, oh yeah, it looks great. If I see a if a normal person, normal in air quotes, of course, saw a blue E2, they'd be like, oh yeah, that's a powerful train. Mm-hmm. Yep.
Oh, it's very powerful.
And the final thing is just that it's not in your face with the morals. It does. Every story teaches you a lesson, but it's not like it's beating you over the head. You kind of have to look for the moral if you want. It's something like down the mind, for example. The moral is like, hey, you can make fun of your friends, but at some point you're going to need them to help you out.
Yeah.
And it's not like Thomas, what he says at the end, ultimately, is like, I'm sorry I was cheeky. And that's it. That's it. It's not, Thomas learned his lesson never to be XYZ.
Yeah. What do you hope Thomas's place in history is, and what do you hope the history books look back on Thomas and say?
I hope, in 30 years from now, people are going to look back at this show and realize that it inspired a lot of people to do things. Sort of how there's a subculture with Jaws where it inspired a bunch of like filmmakers, M. Night Shyamalan, a bunch of people, Quentin Tarantino, a bunch of people became filmmakers because of Jaws. I think Thomas is going to give a bunch of people that exact same springboard, and I think it will be recognized later on down the line that, I don't know if Bob the Builder does this. I don't know if Fireman Sam and Barney do the same thing that Thomas does. It will absolutely stand out as something that is totally different from any of those other shows.
What are your hopes for the future for the franchise?
I hope the show takes a break. I hope that we just focus on what is already out there. I don't think we need new Thomas anymore. We have a lot. There's a lot of content to consume. Give us a film, a good film maybe. Let's see how that goes. But don't. It's too soon to reboot the show, I think.
Okay. And as we wrap up, why does Thomas the Tank Engine matter to you?
It is something that has brought me so much joy, and not many other things in this world do it for me. Like even my favorite movie, it doesn't give me the same high and sort of happiness that this does. And because of the joy that it's brought me and the things it has allowed me to do, I feel indebted to the brand, the character. Not that I'm going to give my life to it, but I live my life knowing that this is a thing that I love. I've been fortunate enough to leave a footprint with it through this film. And as long as I am living and breathing, I will make sure that classic Thomas and Britt, through that as well, all of that is honored and respected.
Brannon, I have to say, as a 34-year-old man who still distinctly remembers getting made fun of in 4th and 5th grade because he had a Thomas balloon at his birthday party, thank you for this movie. And I really hope I get to see it someday. I think it's a very important piece of media.
I hope that my final message, I guess, for everybody is, we've all been bullied for it. And hopefully this film will serve as the biggest middle finger possible.
Yeah, let's stick it to him. So I know you got the UK premiere next week. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we're premiering it at this big rail event where Flying Scotsman's going to be there for one thing, which is incredible.
That is awesome.
Class 40, Class 08's Diesel, like all of these like Thomas things, the real life things behind them are going to be there. And I mean, I can't imagine a better place because we always knew we wanted to do a UK screening. It would be stupid not to. But the opportunity never really presented itself. And Alstom came to us and said, here's what we want to do. And we want you guys to sort of represent Thomas at this thing. And it's like, great, yeah. And, it's a whole new audience, too. I mean, there are Thomas fans at the event, but it is mostly older rail fans. And I think especially older British rail fans will at least be able to sit down and appreciate this because they, damn well they watched it growing up, maybe.
Yeah. And it brought legitimacy to heritage railways, I feel like. Yeah,
and there's probably a handful maybe of people there that were not affected by Thomas the Tank Engine at that event. But even then, I think most people will sit there and be like, rock on.
Yeah, because we all have our things. Yeah. And if anyone wants to follow more about the documentary and its release, unlikelyfandom.com?
Yep, unlikelyfandom.com, Unlikely Fandom on Twitter, and then Unlikely Fandom on Facebook. Yeah.
Awesome. Brandon, thank you so much. Good luck with the documentary.
Cheers. Thank you. And
folks, thank you for listening to this special episode of Movies That Matter. You can find other episodes on Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you find your podcasts. If you'd like to get in touch with me about the show, you can reach me either at Gmail or Instagram at Movies That Matter Pod. You can also be my friend on Litterbox at Chris Loves Films. At this time, my last 4 watches are The Lion King, Looper, The Wild Robot, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. And folks, the real world is scary. It seems to be getting scarier every time I record an episode. Don't forget to love each other, and when life gets too scary, immerse yourself in your favorite movie or piece of media. Don't worry about box office numbers or Rotten Tomatoes scores. Just watch what you love. Entertainment is subjective, and that's not a bad thing. I hope you've really hammered that point home today. Until next time, this has been Chris Flaherty. Stay unlikely, and thank you for listening to Movies That Matter.